Good to know.
Welcome back to Jedi Enclave. I am Daniel.
I'm Chris.
And,
we're two nerds in a basement talking about Star Wars and Star Wars accessories.
yes, and this is the Jedi Enclave.
That was a King of the Hill reference.
Yes, I was. This is the Jedi Enclave presents the Now This is Podcasting podcast. I'm vamping because something happened to our camera and I need to restart it. This will not be a big deal. There we go.
There we go. We did it.
Today, I don't want to talk about it. Anyway, we talk about Star Wars and other fantasy adjacent things that we enjoy in movies and TVs and comics and
Like
so
The
on and so
Boys
forth.
sometimes.
I know.
Just had their new spinoff, Gen V.
I'm really depressed that Ahsoka is over, but I'm really glad that Gen V and Loki starts tomorrow as well.
God, that's tomorrow?
Yeah, it's tomorrow.
God.
So like we'll have plenty of stuff to talk about in at some point we're going to get back to our Star Wars story times, which I adore. I love doing those.
I was just thinking we should do watch-alongs at some point because we never did Rogue One or Solo.
That's true.
We should probably also do Spaceballs at some point.
Yes, I agree. And I think now the thing that's changed in between the last one we did and a potential new one is that we haven't had our Discord server.
Oh, yes.
And I'm pretty sure we could work that in somehow too.
Yeah, maybe.
So, anyway, we're here to talk about Ahsoka today. Next week, we won't get as detailed with Gen V and Loki probably because we just won't have time to do it.
Yeah. Because we are ostensibly a Star Wars themed show.
Yeah. But like those are shows you should check out because they're like I think the first 3 episodes of Gen V dropped.
Yeah, and they're pretty good.
Great. It's exactly what you would expect from a The Boys spinoff.
Gloriously unsubtle.
Yeah.
Like they hit you over the head with every single message.
Yeah. And will Loki be okay? I don't know.
Probably.
I'll have to see it.
It still has Tom Hiddleston and fucking Owen Wilson in the best role Owen Wilson has ever played, quite honestly.
And admittedly, yeah, I usually don't like Owen Wilson very much. Admittedly, out of the MCU Disney Plus properties, Loki and WandaVision were like the good ones. So hopefully season 2 kind of like follows in that, that
We
whole
can
thing.
hope.
So let me pull up my notes here.
What notes? I did the recap.
For the opening. So if you're listening to our podcast on YouTube, time codes are in the description of the video. You can check that out. A big thank you. And I also have notes too because I had questions.
Yeah.
I was like, what does all this mean? And predictions and so on. But thank you to Connor at the Star Wars Hub and Star Wars Veritas. You're great. We love you. And if you could, while you're here, click like, subscribe, share. The Discord link, or we have a Discord server, the link to which is in the description of this video. You should check us out there. Like Chris and I were like live tweeting the live Discording.
Whatever.
Yeah, the Ahsoka premiere or the finale last night. After this at 7, we'll be doing our normal Battlefront 2 stream.
7.
Yeah, and
heavy scare quotes around that because I don't think we started at 7 in months.
Yeah, 7-ish.
At least.
Yeah, 7 is the target that we will miss. On Sunday at 7, we'll be doing our Gungans and Dragons. Hopefully, we'll be able to do this week. The last couple of weeks, for various reasons out of our control, we haven't been able to do it. So also toward the end of this, we put out a post on Facebook a few hours ago asking for your reactions and thoughts about the Ahsoka finale, where I'm going to be reading those toward the end as well. So run over there if you want, or just in the chat because it's like this is a live show. And we want to know what you guys think. It's
a live show for some of you. If you're watching it later, it's not live,
it's not
and
live,
I'm very sorry about that.
Yep. Steven says no. Oh yeah. So first of all, I don't know if I don't know if we should do a spoiler-free thing because
I guess we can. I don't have a ton of spoiler-free thoughts.
Everything that I like about this show is the same, and I will say that I had one expectation going into this episode, and like I had a couple of things that were like, that'd be cool if that happened, or it'd be really cool if this happened, but like I didn't hang my enjoyment on the show over those things because that's a really good way to set yourself up for just being disappointed. But I had like one thing where like this thing needs to happen for me to consider this for me a success, storytelling wise, and that's what they did. And I was like, thank God, because we'll talk about it when we get there. The crazy thing about it is that they did it in a masterful way where they made you think that thing wasn't going to happen. and they gave you like they gave you hope, or they gave you an indication that it was going to go a different way, and then there's a needle drop and it just happens, and you're like, oh, it's so metal. I will also say that this might be the most Game of Thrones Star Wars episode I've ever seen. With some of the music and how
Kevin Kiner is so good at his job.
It's Jesus Christ.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Like for a guy who's made most of his career doing the
like finale
3D cartoons with fucking
finale
synthetic
2008,
instruments.
the finale 2008 library sounds.
You give this man a budget, he is so good.
Yeah, it is the music is fantastic, and all the acting is great. I know that some people have a couple of characters they don't enjoy, but I don't think I have a problem with any of them. I think all the live action casting decisions were inspired. Just
the acting is great. The fight choreography is fantastic.
There's some good fighting in this one too. Some wacky shit that I'm like, you know what? This is wacky, but shit like this happens in Rebels. So like, or in Clone Wars. So it's like, all right. And it gets spooky, and I appreciated it because like this dropped at the beginning of October.
Yeah.
And it was like, all right. I guess this is a Halloween episode now too.
This is what we're doing.
That's perfectly fine. And during our live reactions last night on Discord, we both noticed
there's one particular music cue that we're going to talk about when it happens that very clearly resembles a very famous piece of classical music,
which is used for the same subject matter, more or less. And I think that's about it.
I guess the last thought I have is that I have at least as many questions after this episode as I did before it.
Most of the Disney Plus properties usually set up a different thing.
Yeah.
Which I know sometimes can be a little annoying.
The thing is, like, we know Dave Filoni has a Star Wars movie in the works that's going to tie together all these plot lines.
Right. And
so it makes sense where it leaves off.
Right. And I think that, and we'll get there when we get there, but everyone's like, oh, is there going to be a season 2? And I don't think there's going to be a season 2. I think there's going to be a movie. And after seeing this, I think it's going to be something to behold. I really think when it gets here,
like if they give him the money and the time to keep up this level of quality, it's going to be really good.
Yeah. They're like, and there are some issues with it too that they're going to have to what's a good word, reconcile with established canon. But that's fine because like the shit that they've established in canon so far, it's always been, even before the Disney acquisition, there's the films and then there are the books, and the books are canon-ish.
They're canon until they collide with a film.
Right.
At which point the film wins.
Right. And I'm pretty sure that they can just go with that rule and make whatever they want. And we'll talk about the conflicts with canon when we get there, because I think this is better than the canon for a couple of different reasons. So listen, we're gonna
spoil every single thing about this episode.
If you've not seen the finale yet, go watch it. It really is great. And I enjoyed every second of it. You will too. Having us reenact it and gesticulating wildly, maybe that's the kind of thing you're into.
It might be entertaining, but it's not the way you want to experience this for the first time.
Yeah, but if you've seen it and you're like ready to fucking like join in on the celebration, that like we're gonna spoil it. Everything, every little thing. So you're warned. Go away now. Come back later when you're when you've watched it.
Come back when you're older.
Yeah.
So episode 8. Titled The Jedi, the Witch, and the Warlord, which I just fucking cackled when I saw it on screen.
By the way, I'm going to put this out. I should have said this in our spoiler free. I saw a couple of comments on social media about how Dave Filoni, he's like, oh, she's doing like Gandalf the Grey, or.
I mean, he's obviously taking inspiration from all sorts of different things.
Listen, this is the thing, and like people are commenting like he's taking inspiration from Lord of the Rings, that mid-aughts movie that you saw, or the Chronicles of Narnia, that mid-aughts movie that you saw, when actually these are old literary works that were transformative to all fantasy that everyone's been ripping off forever.
I think they're both like early, mid-20th century.
Yeah, it's fun. It's like they're old enough for artists now to riff on and bring the themes in and stuff, because like those two things in particular, like Lord of the Rings and Chronicles of Narnia, and there's one other one I was thinking of, but it like they like,
I mean, Kurosawa in general.
Right, but I mean, generally, like literary works, and not films. You're just like, because it's not like Dave Filoni is like, oh, I'm basing this off the movie, or it would be weird if he was like, oh, I'm gonna make an episode that riffs off of Twilight, or like some shitty fantasy that's happened within the last 20 years. Like they're old stories, and they're amazing. There's a reason everyone riffs on them for fantasy anyway. So cool your fucking jets. It's fine.
Okay.
Brilliant title though.
So we open with the Chimera still docked over the tower.
She looking rough.
Yeah. So there's a whole bunch of those coffin looking things all over, and stormtroopers are walking around doing things with them. And so Morgan Elsbeth tells Thrawn, hey, we're done putting cargo on the ship. Thrawn is like, that's cool. Hey, Enoch, can you bring that ring down from orbit so that we can link it up to the ship and get the fuck out of here?
Enoch, bring me my cock ring.
Enoch's like, first, you have a really big cock. Second, we know where Ahsoka's ship landed. Thrawn is like, great, send 2 TIE fighters to go kill him. Morgan is like, wait a minute, the Jedi can't do shit about us now. Why are we doing this? Why are we worried about it? Thrawn is like, for the last fucking time, I am the tactical genius here. Hey, great mothers. We've had a really good run here, which is like, you're welcome. Also, hey, Morgan, you want to take the gift of shadows? Morgan is like, I'm not sure what that is, but I guess I'll have it. That sounds cool.
Can you elaborate?
Which is like, one moment. In order to receive the gift of shadows, you must swear yourself to the magic, spelled Magiks,
right,
and renounce your old life and everything about it. Morgan is like, yeah, okay, that sounds fair.
I don't have anything else going on anyway.
Just give me the good shit. So the lead witch steps up to her and like puts her hands on her face, and that there's some weird sounds and
Vulcan
green fire and like when she pulls her hands away, Morgan has the same black eyes,
creepy black eyes, yeah,
gray makeup on her face that the great mothers have.
She, by the way, this actor in particular, Morgan Elsbeth, looks amazing with the
witchy stuff.
Yeah, it's just like with the like onyx black eyes and shit. I was like, that's pretty cool.
So the great mothers like put out their hands and summon this pillar of green fire, which eventually solidifies into a sword, which they say, hey, this is the blade of Talzin. Go ahead, Morgan. Take this. Go cut someone to pieces.
By the way, if you are a Dave Filoni Star Wars nerd, like I am, you know that Mother Talzin had a duel with Mace Windu with that sword.
Oh.
So, and other things like...
I assume she lost.
No one wins in a duel against Mace Windu, as we know.
Anyway, so the TIE fighters like detach from the docking rack and fly off, and
that
we
shot
get the title
though,
scene.
like that shot. So like this whole thing is it's a neat like little cold open thing that they do. A couple of things before this is why I wanted to start early, because I have thoughts about so many things. I like how this is shot where while they're doing this ceremony, which by the way, do you think between scenes Morgan Elsbeth like pulls out her like compact to like look at her eyes and be like, damn, that looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
While they're doing this whole thing, Thrawn's kind of looking on like, the fuck is happening here?
I think he's just trying to figure it all out. He's like filing it away in case he ever needs to betray the great mothers. I think
he's like, all right, this is a resource that I have, right? Yeah. But the way that they have this shot where like they have him and like behind him, those TIE fighters hang like bats, right? And they just kind of drop down in that shot. They're like they frame him and they just drop down and fly off. And the thing I love about Thrawn in this episode, and I think it's the reason he's kind of become my favorite Star Wars villain ever. In this particular instance, he is not taking any chances. And it's because he has this very Thanos, like he's not doing bad shit to people just to do bad shit to people. He's got this goal that he's dedicating everything toward. And if he's like, if I have to do bad shit to you to make this happen, I'm going to do bad shit to you. Or you could just stay here and die by, I don't give a fuck. Like as long as this thing happens.
As long as you're off the board, I don't give a shit.
Right. And did we miss the part where they, because I don't want to steal your thunder with it. Have we gotten to the part yet where Thrawn tells Elsbeth why he's not taking any chances?
Not yet, I don't think.
Okay, all right. I'll let you get there, and if you don't, I'll jump in.
So Ahsoka's ship is sort of flying above the Turtle People caravan, and they're all going around. Ezra is down in the workshop tinkering, trying to make a new lightsaber, and Hu Yang's like, no, you're doing it wrong. Ezra's like, fuck you, I'm doing it right. He says, yeah, Ahsoka told me we're going after Thrawn as soon as possible, so I need to make a new lightsaber. Hu Yang is like, well, who the fuck taught you to make a lightsaber anyway? And Sabine just kind of enters leaning against the doorframe and says, Kanan Jarrus did. Hu Yang is like, well, guess what, bitch? I taught him.
Yeah.
And they're like, what the fuck? Ezra's like, how old are you anyway? Hu Yang is like, old enough no more than your dumbass.
Yeah. I like how, like, he's like, do you not know who I am? Well, I have one purpose in the Jedi Order, and it's to teach people how to make lightsabers, you stupid fuck. Like, what is wrong with you? Yeah. I also appreciate the fact that, like, Ezra isn't just, like, he also knows what he's doing. Like, he's not just fumbling about and shit. He's just like, I learned this shit a different way. Yeah. He's a Boken Jedi.
So like, Hu Yang, like, pulls open a drawer and pulls out a part. It's like, here, I had 2 of these, but I only have 1 now. The only other one went to some dude named Caleb Dune?
Yeah. And then all the Star Wars fans freak out. Yeah.
It was like, oh, hey, this is what I was tearing apart your workshop trying to find. Thanks, man. So Ezra puts together his lightsaber and turns it on. He's like, and Hu Yang's like, hey, neat, you're not a total dumbass.
It didn't explode.
Yeah. Good Ezra turns on, like, hey, Sabine, but Sabine's gone.
Yeah. Yeah, they were talking about Master Apprentice stuff, and she's kind of like, I don't like this.
I was just like, so what happened with Sabine and Ahsoka anyway? Like the question that's in everyone's mind for the entire show. Hu Yang is like, yeah, so the Empire bombed Mandalore. It was a whole thing. They called it the Night of Tears. And Ahsoka was worried that Sabine was training as a Jedi for the wrong reasons. Because, like,
to kill people.
Yeah, like, she would go dark side and it'd be a whole thing. So Sabine steps out the hatch onto the ship's wing, and Ahsoka's just out there meditating. And
okay, so do you think that Ahsoka, like, heard her coming, and she's like, oh shit, I'm gonna get into it, like, a real badass pose?
No, I think she was just there already.
Hoist herself up on the ship. That's the image I had. She's like, Sabine's coming. Hold on a second. What would look the most badass? Because she's just, like, sitting up there, like, yes, I'm a Jedi.
I think she was just already there.
Yeah, she probably was. So she seems like the type.
Yeah,
like, it's like when Vader stares out of a window. You're like, did you just do that because he knew someone was coming in? It's like, no, Vader just likes to look like that.
Ahsoka's like, congrats, your gamble paid off. Sabine's like, shit, you weren't supposed to find out that I did that. Yeah. I mean, I thought I never saw him again. I thought I'd never get to fuck him. And Ahsoka's like, yeah, we know.
Yeah.
You might not have if you didn't do the incredibly stupid thing. Sabine's like, okay, I'm sorry. Ahsoka's like, it's fine. Sabine's like, wait a second. You're not mad at me?
Yeah, run that one past me again.
This is really weird. Ahsoka's like, look, I did my own share of dumb shit, and Anakin was always on my side.
Yeah.
So, like, the least I can do is be on your side when you do dumb shit.
I did a lot of dumb shit, and the reason I did that is because my master did a lot of dumb shit, too.
Yeah. So you might say dumb shit just runs in our line.
Runs in the family, yeah.
Now, before you get too happy with me, have you been training? Sabina's like, yes, absolutely, maybe, in that I can use a lightsaber pretty well.
And at least I'm better today than I was yesterday at it.
So I was like, okay, but there's more to being a Jedi than just swinging a laser sword around.
I like it. She's like, oh, that helps, though. Like, that's really helpful.
Also, you need to trust in the Force more. You know, that mystical energy field surrounds and binds us and all that. You need to do some more with it. So Ezra pops out with his new lightsaber. He's like, hey guys, look at my lightsaber. Holy shit, those are TIE fighters. Yeah. They're swooping down on them, I love how those,
like, that's the thing. They do this in Andor too, where, like, at this point the TIE fighters to fans have such a, like, distinct sound that you never see them first. You always hear them first, and that, like, Ezra's like or is it Sabine that hears it? Anyway, like, they
no,
hear
it's definitely
first.
Ezra.
Yeah. Which, by the way, we have to explain what they're doing and why it's a bad idea. They're just floating there in the Jedi ship with that entire clan of turtle dudes, crab turtles,
Nody,
underneath them, just hanging out, hoping that the ship never falls out of the air and crushes them.
Why would it ever do that? It's not like 2 TIE fighters are going to swoop down and shoot them and blow out the motivator or whatever.
Stabilizer. I'm sorry. I'm that kind of Star Wars. I'm very sorry.
So Ahsoka and Ezra hop down from the ship to the ground and, like, use the Force to, like, hold it up to keep it from crushing the turtle people.
Which is good for them, by the way.
Yeah,
like, that's
a lot.
Yeah.
And Hu Yang and Sabine are trying to fly the ship. So Sabine does some hot wiring. She bypasses the compressor, and Hu Yang is like, well, you're only going to be able to fly the ship for like 5 seconds. And like Sabine is like, that's 4 seconds longer than I need, baby. She flies forward,
for me.
rams the TIE fighters, they explode, and then the ship crashes.
Yeah, which I always watch these twice because I've mentioned this before. My partner has a rehearsal when it airs, so I watch it by myself and then we watch it together when he comes home, like right after that.
Yeah.
When we watched that part, he was in every visual medium, in every TV show or movie. What ends up happening here in this situation is that it disappears and then like appears somewhere else, like and he was like, oh, it's gonna fly up, right? And it's like, no, they just crashed now.
Hu Yang was telling the truth.
Yeah.
So Hu Yang and Sabine like crawl out of the ship. They're fine, but it's not going anywhere soon. It crashed. The Noti caravan also got kind of shot up a little bit in the crossfire. Ezra's like, this is going to slow us down. And Ahsoka's like, not if we do some real cool shit.
Yeah. Or we could be badasses.
Yeah. So Thrawn is standing in his planning room making plans when Enoch walks in and says, hey, the TIE fighters made their attack and died. Thrawn is like, this is an acceptable loss. Give the dead men some medals. Now, the Jedi can't prevent our departure, so we're going to prepare for them to attack on the ground. Ahsoka, Ezra, and Sabine hop on their little dog things, and they're running. And Hu Yang and the Noti are trying to repair the ship. So Morgan is giving an inspirational speech to some assembled stormtroopers, like saying, the witch's blessing will keep you safe. Now get the fuck out there and die for Thrawn.
Yeah.
Thrawn is like, wait a minute, that's a little hardcore. Like they know I'm leaving them behind, right? They know they're never going home.
Oh no, they know. They're excited.
Morgan's like, yep, they all volunteered for it. It was actually kind of creepy how devoted they are to you.
I didn't say it was a great thing, but here we are.
I said, who's willing to die for Thrawn? And they're all like, Thrawn!
Yeah, everyone raised their hand, and I had to pick 17.
So Ahsoka and company ride up on the Chimera with its ring attached. Ahsoka calls Hu Yang on the phone. Is like, hey, how are repairs going? He's like, not great. Ahsoka's like, oh, that's bullshit. Come on, you've kept that thing flying for longer than I've been alive. Next to Hu Yang, one of the Noti grabs these two wires, sticks them together, and fucking electrocutes itself.
It's a very Porg The Last Jedi moment. Yeah.
And Hu Yang just kind of watches this happen and says to Ahsoka, yeah, but that was when I had actually competent help, not these fucking
whatever
turtles.
The fuck these things are. Yeah. I like how he's like, just leave me here to die. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna make it.
Don't wait up. Ahsoka's like, all right, Ezra, what are we going into here? Ezra's like, I have no idea. I've never been here. There's a shit ton of witches and all of Thrawn's guys, and I've just never been able to get close.
He says specifically, and I thought this was really interesting, he's like, Thrawn woke the witches up when he got here. Which, how? I would like to know how that entire thing happened, because I have a lot of questions about the Great Mothers and their relationship with Thrawn, and who is using who, and who's gonna stab who in the back and everything.
Ahsoka is like, all right, I guess we're just gonna go straight down their throats. That's what we're doing now. So they all ride down towards the tower.
Sabine winks at Ezra.
So Thrawn, of course, sees them coming. He's like, all right, just shoot the fuck out of them. We have a Star Destroyer. I'm not messing around. I'm not taking any chances. Just blow the fuck out of them. That's Anakin's apprentice. I don't want any part of this.
That's what I'm saying. So Thrawn at one point was like, I made a fatal error in tactics once, underestimating the heroics of a Jedi. That will never happen again. And on top of that, that's Anakin Skywalker's apprentice. Blow them the fuck up, right? And what I love about how he all of these things, it's just him watching a fucking chessboard, but he has this insane desperation to get the job done. And I also kind of noticed how he has a multi-layered plan where he has
fallbacks for his fallbacks,
right? And it's every he's playing 3D chess where he's like, okay, I'm gonna put this here. They're probably gonna get through that. Maybe they won't, but they probably will. And if they do, we'll do this thing. And he's I could watch that man stare at a chessboard. If that's all they made the show, I would do. Yeah. And that shot, by the way, they because they're riding their little dogs. and they're underneath the cock ring. And then they clear the cock ring, and then they're looking up at the Star Destroyer, and the Star Destroyer is like, "Oh, hey, bitches," and just starts raining hellfire down on them.
So Ahsoka and company are riding through all this, and Ahsoka's like, "Hey, Ezra, open the door." So Ezra reaches out the Force and tries to open it, but it eventually takes all three of them to open it just a crack.
Yeah, she's like, "Sabine, help!" And she's like, "I'm trying." And she's like, "Okay, fine, I'll do it."
Fine. So they all get in. Thrawn sends the night troopers and leaves and says, "Hey, witches, do your thing." So Ahsoka and company are confronted by the stormtroopers, and they're like, "Okay, let's just slowly retreat a little, block all their shots."
Yeah.
Like at some point, Sabine switches to guns and starts shooting people.
Like it's because she can't do anything with a lightsaber.
Yeah.
Like she's fighting with a lightsaber and she's getting hit, and like Ahsoka turns around and was like, "Just use your guns for fuck's sake! Stop fucking around." Yeah.
So we get another cool fight with all three of them doing their own individual things. Like Ahsoka's doing her cool, two-sword samurai shit. Ezra's flipping around and using the Force, and Sabine's just shooting people. Yeah. So the witches are doing their thing too, and they're like doing their chanting, and there's some green fire and shit. So
they have a moment of celebration.
Yeah, the good guys managed to get all the stormtroopers down.
Yeah.
So they're like, "Okay, we won. Let's keep going."
That was really easy. That was strangely easy.
And then there's a music cue that starts that is just like the beginning of Camille Saint-Saëns's Dance Macabre.
Yeah.
Which, if you're not a music nerd, that this piece starts with programmatically the devil tuning up his violin by playing in these tritones. Yeah. And that's exactly the sound we get here.
Yep.
There's just violin playing these tritones as all the dead stormtroopers suddenly stand up, have some green shit about them, and Ahsoka's like, "This is new." Ezra's like, "Yeah, I've never seen zombies before. This is kind of fucked up."
This also reminded me a whole bunch of people might remember, if we've talked about this before, like the three of you that watch every week, that like I made you watch like formative episodes of Game of Thrones. Like like you haven't seen the whole thing, but like I made you watch like the really important episodes. This really reminded me of the episode where Jon Snow goes to Hardhome, and like everyone dies, like the people that they're fighting, everyone dies, and then the Night King just raises everyone up again. It was like, well, now what are you gonna do? It was a lot like it felt like a lot like that. It also had there are a couple of different. They're not canon anymore in the expanded universe. There are a couple of books that had zombie stormtroopers because it's a neat idea. Sure, Red Harvest was one of them, which has one of the most shameless plagiarizations of the script from Taken in it. And then the other one was Dark Troopers or something. I
don't know.
Death Troopers, maybe. Before Death Troopers were like an actual thing.
Anyway, so the good guys have to like retreat up the stairs going backwards so they can block all the blaster bolts and stuff. But
Death Troopers was what it's called.
But a zombie grabs Ezra from behind, and Sabine is at first trying to shoot him, and Ezra's like, "Be really fucking careful, don't shoot me." And finally Sabine's just like, "You know what? I have a lightsaber. I'm just going to stab him." So she stabs the zombie, and Ahsoka's like, "Yeah, that was pretty good." And Ezra's like, "Yeah, she can do that." She slashes the door controls to keep the zombies back, and things are looking okay for the good guys again, until there's this very loud sound that resembles a giant hyperspace ring attaching itself to a Star Destroyer.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Well, shit, I think the giant hyperspace ring just attached itself to the Star Destroyer. We should get upstairs."
Yeah.
So Morgan's like, "Hey, boss, we're ready to go. We've got everything set. We're all good." Thrawn's like, "Yeah, but I don't know that we can leave before the Jedi get on board, so..."
And I do not want them on board.
Yeah, that would be really bad. Morgan's like, "I got you. Yeah. Don't worry about
it." This is actually... this is one of... I have a lot of scenes in this episode that I like. This is one of the ones that I really liked, because there is this realization where Thrawn's like, "You know what I'm asking you to do?" And she's like, "Yeah.
Okay.
Well, shit. Okay." And then... because she knows that she has to stay, and even if she survives,
she ain't going home.
Yeah, she's not going home. So that sucks.
Thrawn's like, "Hey, thanks," and for the Empire. And the Great Mothers kind of walk past and give her a nod, and she kind of nods.
They're like, that sucks. I'm so sorry. Bye.
And Morgan is like, actually, for Dathomir.
Yeah.
Fuck the Empire for Dathomir.
Yeah. Which I think is still an acceptable outcome for her.
Yeah.
I think she's like, it's all right if I die or if I'm stranded here. Is whatever plan, because we don't really understand exactly what they're doing. We just get like...
Yeah, we know Thrawn has made some deal with the witches, and it involves all those weird coffin things they were loading.
And it has something to do with Dathomir, but that's about all.
So Ahsoka and company are still, getting up as the zombie troopers are breaking through doors and coming after them. And the good guys eventually reach Morgan inside the plan room. And Morgan's just standing there with her cool witch sword, and Ahsoka's like, all right, I got this. You guys keep going.
Yeah, I fought this bitch before in Mandalorian Season 2. Yeah. I got this.
Sabine is like, are you sure? Because, maybe, we could help you. And Ahsoka's like, yes, you need to stop Thrawn.
Yeah.
Go. So, Ezra and Sabine just kind of circle around the outside of the room.
They're like, you're not going to try to hit us?
And Morgan just kind of stands there and stares at Ahsoka.
Yep.
And then Morgan and Ahsoka just have a really good fight.
Yeah, it's, there's very... the way that Morgan Elsbeth is fighting is very ancient Chinese bladed weapons,
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. It's really neat.
With fewer wires to make her fly.
And standing on bamboo shoots. Yeah.
But that was kind of vibe I got too, which makes sense given that actress's background. Mm-hmm. Is she her Bruce Lee's daughter?
Goddaughter.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, Ezra and Sabine make it up to the top of the tower, and who should step out but two giant troopers in black and red armor,
literal death troopers, by the way.
So Ahsoka and Sabine are Ezra and Sabine are like, all right, cool. Well,
they're just stormtroopers.
Yeah. So we're just gonna shoot them and stab them, and they don't really care about being shot or stabbed. Yeah. This is very bad news for our heroes who rely on enemies being vulnerable to being shot and stabbed.
Yeah, it's like that usually does the trick.
Yeah. So Thrawn walks out onto the Rings Bridge with the witches, and they're getting ready to leave Paradia.
This was the one shot from I didn't realize that they'd used all the shots that we saw in the trailer were used. I forgot about this one.
Oh.
They put a shot from the season finale in the trailer, and it's him coming onto that bridge from behind.
I mean, there's no context for it, so you didn't know that it was from
I know, but it was it was that last one that I missed. I was like, there it is.
So all the fights continue, and Sabine and Ezra get all their weapons knocked away from them. So Sabine manages to reach out with the Force, manages to grab her lightsaber back. She pulls it in, lines it up with the Death Trooper's head, turns on the blade. He drops dead. Very
Kylo Ren and the Praetorian Guards from Last Jedi when he does the same thing. This seems to open a floodgate for Sabine, by the way, because it was a story beat throughout the series so far.
She sucks with the Force.
Yeah, ask Hugh Yang, he'll tell you she's terrible at it, and she struggles a lot to pull her lightsaber to her in this. I think, given the circumstance and this. By the way, half of its helmet's gone, and it's got the zombie fucking its jaw is slightly dislocated, and it's chittering and shit. Where she's like, I'm gonna get eaten unless I get my lightsaber, and it kind of opens a floodgate where she's like, oh, I guess I can do this.
And immediately after, Ezra manages to force grab his lightsaber back and cuts off his Death Trooper's head. So they're good, they won. However, the Chimera is leaving too quickly, and it's already too high for them to jump. Ahsoka is still fighting Morgan as all the zombies arrive, and Ahsoka has to, back up the stairs again, deflecting all their blaster bolts. So, two stormtroopers come out in the Chimera's docking bay, and they're about to raise their guns to shoot Ezra and Sabine. They're like, you know what? We got this. We won. We're out of their reach.
What are they, Jedi? They can't jump up there.
Ezra's like, well, shit, that's a really big jump. I don't think I can make it. Sabina's like, okay, but, and hear me out here, what if you jump as far as you can, and then I push you the rest of the way?
It's a maneuver that Ezra and Darth Maul do in Rebels, by the way. In the
that makes it a fun callback.
Yeah, it's when he and Darth Maul are hanging out at the Sith temple trying to get that Sith holocron.
Just hanging out at the Sith temple.
Yeah, well, because he doesn't like Maul too much, but
why would he?
Maul's like, "You're my new apprentice," and he's like, "No, I'm not. Go away." And he's like, "No," and he's like, "Well, I guess he can just tag along then." It's that kind of thing. But they need each other to access this thing, and so he jumps and Maul pushes him across the thing.
Ezra's like, "Okay, this sounds like a terrible idea." So he's like, "Nah, just trust me, bro. I can do this."
I had one success with the Force.
Yeah.
Everything is fine.
I can do it.
Yeah.
Ezra's like, "Well, okay, at least if this fails, I will, die quickly from falling to the surface."
Not quickly at all. And also, 1 out of 1 is a
pretty good success rate. Yeah.
Good job.
100%. So he runs and jumps, and Sabine manages to push him. And he just barely gets up. And we see from the stormtrooper's perspective, right? He's jumping up there and he just falls short.
Kind of misses it, yeah.
And then it turns around and we see him clinging to a little ledge just below the level of the docking bay. And he hops up there and beats the shit out of the stormtroopers. So Sabine is about to run and jump when she turns and sees that Ahsoka is still fighting. She got up there. Ezra's like, "Okay, if you're going to do this, it has to be right the fuck now." And we see Sabine run.
And then it cuts away.
Yes, it cuts away to Morgan and Ahsoka fighting. And Morgan manages to break one of Ahsoka's lightsabers, and the stormtroopers are all just standing around surrounding them watching. And Morgan eventually knocks down Ahsoka and says, "Those kids are fucking dead."
Yeah.
They're up against Thrawn all by themselves. They're fucking doomed. Just like you are in just a minute here. Sabine is like, "Fuck you," first of all, and also she's not dying yet. And then she starts fighting all the stormtroopers as Ahsoka gets up and starts fighting Morgan again. Yeah. And Ahsoka manages to take the blade out of Morgan's hand and then cut her across the belly, which is a very samurai way to do it.
Yep. She I'm surprised she didn't cut her head off after. Yeah.
I appreciate the rhyming poetry here of Ahsoka defeating Morgan Elsbeth while a Mandalorian is killing all of Morgan's lackeys.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty neat.
It's just fun. I don't know if it's a coincidence or if it was planned that way, but
You're talking about the Mandalorian episode, yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So on the Rings Bridge, the witches kind of close their eyes for a second. They're like, "Yeah, Morgan's dead." Thrawn is like, she did what I asked of her. She did her job.
Put a commendation in her file. Mm-hmm. Godspeed.
So Ezra is looking down from the docking bay when one of the stormtrooper communicators says, "Hey, we're going to send some guys down there because you haven't reported in." Ezra's picks up the communicator. He's like, "All right, Roger.
There's a reactor leak down here. Reactor is very dangerous."
So he starts dragging the stormtrooper armor away.
Which any Rebels fan knows. Yes. Ezra, we know. He loves to fucking dress up as stormtroopers. It's his hobby.
So Ahsoka, Ahsoka and Sabine have won. Ahsoka turns to Sabine and "Okay, where's Ezra?" Sabine is like, "He's going home." Ahsoka is like, "Well, this party was great, but you want to get out of here?" Sabine is like, "I thought you'd never ask." Yes. And they run for the edge. So on the ring, Thrawn has the Chimera start shooting at the tower as Ahsoka and Sabine jump off the ledge.
By the way, did you notice the reaction from the head Great Mother?
Don't think I did.
Thrawn, because they have this shot where it's Thrawn in the foreground and over his shoulder are the Great Mothers. Mm-hmm. And he gives the order to bombard the temple. And the one Great Mother was like, "What?" Because apparently to them that's some kind of sacred thing. But she has this noticeable look of displeasure where she's like, "Oh, you motherfucker."
So they jump off the edge. They land on the ship, which Hu Yang managed to fix.
Yeah.
Ahsoka and Sabine just jumped off the tower and landed on top of their ship. So they take off and they're flying up towards the Chimera, which is, heading towards orbit and beyond. But the Jedi shuttle is a long way back. So Thrawn calls Ahsoka on the phone. He's like, "Hey, Ahsoka, great job today. You're not bad." Ahsoka is like, "Can we possibly fly just a little bit faster so I don't have to listen to this sanctimonious asshole?"
"Must go faster, please." Which, by the way, this is the part where I thought is one of the reasons why I found what actually happened so compelling is that when the Jedi ship shows up with Hu Yang, mm-hmm. This is where I'm starting to think, oh, they're going to stop him. And it's the same moment in Infinity War where Thanos gets the last fucking stone, and
then Thor shows up and starts,
throws his axe, and you're like, he's gonna kill that
shit.
motherfucker.
Yeah,
and it hits him, and you're like, the good guys won.
He bleeds. Yeah, that's it.
And like that's not what ends up happening in the end. And that's the thing. Like they get their shit back. They're gaining ground, right? And so that's the first thing. Is like, okay, so they could still catch up and still beat them, right? So that's the first thing. I thought that Thrawn was calling to distract to buy some time.
He kind of is.
I think he called her because he knew it was done.
Maybe.
I think because it was right before that he gave the order to spin the engines.
Oh, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
So Thrawn continues. It's a shame that we never got to meet and speak face to face. I think we'd get on well, considering that I'm blue and you're orange. I think we have a lot in common.
We're Illinois colors.
Yeah. Also, I knew Anakin, so I figured that your strategies would be similar to his, and I was right, as I usually am. And but it makes me wonder how you might be similar to him in other ways. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Anyways. I win. Long live the Empire. See ya.
Yeah.
The ring jumps into hyperspace, and the hyperspace way kind of knocks the Jedi shuttle around.
Yeah. Okay. So we got to talk about this moment because this is my favorite moment in the whole series, including the Anakin stuff. And I get the Anakin stuff was really great, but with what I was just talking about, right? They're catching up. There's this trope in Star Wars where when whoever is on a ship wants to go somewhere, they think they're going to go, and then something bad happens. Because we know that Ezra's on the ship and can mess with stuff. Yeah. You think you're going to get that Millennium Falcon
Surely
sound.
Ezra's going to fuck with the hyperspace motivator or whatever and stop it.
And it's not that. It's like as Thrawn's giving this little thing, this is why I think he knew it was over. The music just keeps like ramping up, and it's like the musical moment here is so fucking cool. And just at the end of his thing, just as a I'm not worried about you, long live the Empire, I fucking won. And he does.
Yeah.
And like that was my one condition for thinking that this story was a success. We talked about this a few weeks ago about how the first part of this series follows a writing framework, kind of like how Empire Strikes Back does, where like the heroes will have these small victories in the middle, but at the end, the bad guy won. And I predicted then I wouldn't be surprised if at the end, like in Empire Strikes Back, something really bad happens and the good guys are left standing there going like, oh no, what are we going to do? Which is exactly what happens.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put, I wonder if they'll release a soundtrack for, because I think this probably has the best music out of all of the Disney Plus series. It's just that.
I'd say so, yeah.
The way that he's framed when he says long live the Empire is just the most boss fucking mic drop thing in the world.
Yeah. Like we get a shot of Ahsoka and Sabine in the cockpit kind of like having to wrestle with the fact that holy shit, we just failed.
Yeah.
Like everyone we know and love is probably going to die now.
Yep.
This sucks.
Yeah, it's kind of like in Infinity War where who was it? It's like, did we just lose? It was Starkiller, right? It was like, wait, did we just lose?
Star-Lord?
Or yeah. Star-Lord, yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. It's kind of, it was like that moment.
It's a very Peter Quill thing to say.
I didn't realize we could lose.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was an option.
So we cut down to the planet where the Na'vi are still trying to repair their, house things as Ahsoka and Sabine ride up on their dogs and Hu Yang brings the ship in.
They're all very excited.
Yeah, but it's probably like, hey, friends!
Yeah. We're like, we get that you're fucked, but we're okay with it.
Hang out with us. Yeah. Could be worse. So Ahsoka is distracted from the turtle guys by some squawking behind her, and she turns to see this owl kind of perched on a rock. Yeah. Like the owl flies off.
He's like, "What's up?"
Yeah,
and flies off. Yeah, which like every Clone Wars and Rebels fans know that's. And this is where I was like, "Oh, are we doing the Mortis thing?" Because that's where that Morai first appears, isn't that episode?
Meanwhile, Shin Hati rides up to a nomad camp and fucking turns on her lightsaber, and all the nomads are like, "Holy shit, she's got a lightsaber!"
Yeah.
Baylan Skoll is standing like on top of this gigantic rock statue with an outstretched hand. He's fucking majestic as fuck, just kind of looking down at a valley. And
did you realize what the statues were?
I don't think I did.
Those are the Mortis gods. So those are the father and the son. And then I think that the daughter is supposed to be on the left, but it's like part of it's destroyed. Which
the daughter represents the light side.
Yeah, and then the son's the dark side, and then the father was the balance.
Which would make sense given that this is where the witches come from. That the light side would have been desecrated.
Yeah.
Even just symbolic.
Yeah. I thought it was, this was another thing too, where it actually felt really bad. Like this, like it made me, this scene made me really sad because like, we've said this a couple of times throughout, but like Ray Stevenson deserves to know how universally everyone loved his character in a franchise with idiot fans where no one agrees with anything. The one thing everyone agrees on in this show is that Ray Stevenson was amazing and perfect the entire time. He stole every scene he was in and is just amazing.
So this is a morbid question. Would he be as universally beloved if he hadn't died?
I think so. I think everyone loved him so much because of his performance.
I know you and I would still have loved him because, we like good things, but like, I can't help but feel like there's some contrarian idiots out there who would have been like, actually, Ray Stevenson sucks.
Yeah,
but it's just,
I haven't found. Well, you mean if he had lived?
Yeah, exactly. Like you can't badmouth a guy who turns in a really good performance and then immediately dies after.
I don't think so. I think that I think the love he's getting just. I mean, it is deserved. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to say objectively, but he really is like one of the best parts of the show, and it's not that because everything else is so bad. It's just that he's
just that
was
good,
phenomenal. And I thought it was actually kind of neat that the last shot of Ray Stevenson we see in the show is him fucking in the hand of a god, looking out all fucking epic and shit. And I've got questions about where this is going to because
we'll get there. We got a little bit of epilogue to go through. So the Chimera pulls up at this gigantic red planet with some pensive piano music going on. Enoch tells Thrawn, "Hey, we're here. We've arrived at Dathomir." And the witches are looking very happy. And there's a metric fuck ton of those coffin things down in the cargo bay.
Some great cinematography and music here too, where the Star Destroyer and its cock ring just like eclipses Dathomir, and it just. Thrawn's sitting up on that fucking balcony like, I'm just going to stand here and that's all it's going to take for me to look like a badass.
So elsewhere, a Lambda shuttle that's looking a little dinged up docks with a Moncal cruiser. And Hera and an entire security team come down to meet it. Like,
the last time this ship,
nice symmetry.
The last time this ship landed on a New Republic ship in the first scene of the first episode.
Some shit went down.
Very bad things happened.
So off walks one single stormtrooper who kind of puts up his hands.
Which, by the way, you should have just taken your helmet off before you got off the ship.
Yeah, but then it would have spoiled the moment because Chopper fucking rolls up from behind Hera and is like circling around him like an excited dog. Yeah. It's like your dogs when you get home, right?
Chopper's like, have you guys never seen Rebels? It's Ezra. He likes to do this all the time.
Ezra fucking pulls out the helmet and says, "Hey guys, it's me." And Hera's like, "Holy shit, it's you."
Yeah. This had a note of sadness to it a little bit too, because he says, "Hey Hera, I made it home." Yeah. And that the question on her mind is,
okay, where's
Sabine and Ahsoka? Yeah.
Speaking of, back with Nadi, Ahsoka is kind of just staring out into the sky at night, and Sabine is like helping the turtle guys or something. And comes over and says, "Hey, we're almost ready to move. Are you good?" Ahsoka's like, "Hey, you did good." Sabine's like, "Really?
You done good, kid."
Because like this is all kind of my fault.
Yeah, I blundered this at every possible turn.
Like I made the worst possible decision here.
You did good, kid. Hu Yang's like, no,
no,
she did not.
Ahsoka's like, yeah, but Ezra got back, and so you win some, you lose some.
Yeah.
Her actual words, I believe, are "He's where he needs to be, just like us."
Yeah.
Which is some Jedi mysticism bullshit. So Ezra walks away, but Sabine seems to sense something.
Ahsoka walks away, yeah.
She's kind of staring, and Ahsoka's like, "Hey, what's up?
What the fuck are you staring at?"
Sabine's like, "Nah, it's nothing." Then Ahsoka looks back.
She's like, you don't know anything about anything. I'm going to look at this myself.
and like,
I can trust you for literally nothing.
So eventually they both turn around and walk back to the camp, and the camera pulls back to show that it's fucking Anakin's Force Ghost.
The actual Force Ghost.
Yeah.
Another question too.
Hayden Christensen gets to actually act as a Force Ghost.
Yeah, I like how
after all these years.
Yes, famously, Hayden Christensen was like, "I wish George Lucas would have told me
what that was for
Return of the Jedi for the last scene where he's a Force Ghost, because he's like, I would have done different things.
Yeah,
I assume he would have done whatever he did here, which is more or less the same thing he did. Yeah, sit there and look pensive.
Anyway, credits roll. That's the end.
Yeah. Okay.
So can we get some questions?
Yes.
Because I have questions. So first question is, what the fuck was calling Balin's skull, and what the fuck is going on with it?
Well, let's talk about Balin's skull in general, and explain his ending a little bit, because if you're a Clone Wars fan, you knew that, like if you saw that particular episode of Clone Wars with the Mortis gods, you know that the statue that he's standing on is the father, who represents the balance of the Force. Mm-hmm. To that statue's left is the son, who is the dark side. And I think that on the right there would have been the daughter. Like, there's something there that looks like it was a statue, but the witches are like, fuck that. Yeah. Like, they probably did away with it. What does this mean for the Star Wars universe? I have no fucking idea, because there's a lot happening on Peridea that raises a lot of questions. Mm-hmm. Like, there's the Zepho inspiration in the temple where they were hanging out at the beginning, and now we've got the Mortis gods in another part of the planet entirely. And I mean, in Clone Wars, the father dies. Actually, the mother does, or the daughter does as well. Or no, hold on a second, because the daughter dies. No, Ahsoka dies, and then the daughter gives her life, like gives her a life injection, and then it's like, oh, I'm dead now. So does the father die? Maybe that's why the statue isn't there. But tell us in the comments.
What this suggests to me, all the influences that are on Peridea, is that like, the Force is bigger than any of the single traditions that have been worshiping it, including the Jedi, including the Sith. Yeah.
This is an independent conclusion that Luke Skywalker comes to after Return of the Jedi, where he makes a point to start visiting different tribes of people who are Force sensitive, who have a different, they don't know it as the Force. They just know it as something else. It's kind of like religion, if religion were true in the real world. So like,
it suggests that all of these ways of knowing the Force, no matter what you call it, are true at some level,
with baggage added, by whoever is naming it,
and that the Jedi are not the only true arbiters and guardians of the flame or whatever,
right?
Of the Force.
Which is exactly what Luke says in The Last Jedi. Like, the Jedi do not own the Force; that is not their property. And I think they're hammering this home even more in this story,
which makes me wonder what they're gonna do in the future, because we still have that Rey movie coming up at some point.
Yeah, right. So we still don't exactly know what Balin's skull is looking for, right?
There's a hint that he might have found it.
Or at least
the fact that he's hanging out with the Mortis statues.
Yeah, like he's at the next place he needs to be.
Yeah. But he was looking down at something
into that valley. Yeah, but also we don't know why he needs Thrawn to start a war.
I think the two things are different.
I don't. Well, he's in that fight with Ahsoka, he says that he needs Thrawn to start a war.
I can't help but
it sounds like it's a part of his plan. Like he's like this is the thing that has to happen.
I feel like he started out wanting Thrawn to start the war, and then once he got to Peridea, he found something that sort of captured his attention away from that.
Oh, the impression I got was that that's why he was going, was to find what he found, that he knew it was there.
It's possible.
Anyway. So the obvious question here is, Baylan Skull's story is not over, and it can't be over. Like, they can't just not pay this off now. And I get that. So Ray Stevenson obviously tragically died. They need to recast this part, because
absolutely.
And they I don't think they'll find anyone.
They're not going to find anyone who can do the same job Ray Stevenson did.
But there are amazing actors out there that could do the part justice. They don't need to do a Ray Stevenson impression. They just need to be the character.
Yes. And
I think that this is going to play it either into Dave Filoni's film, or if they do a season 2 of Ahsoka. We need to know why he was there. And it is okay. This is one thing that I kind of learned from.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but like the whole thing about Paradia and all the different Force traditions that maybe came from here, maybe came to here, is that it sets up so much possible backstory. Like we didn't have time to get into any of that during Ahsoka because everything was so focused on Thrawn.
Yeah, there's too much story.
But there's so many questions about the fundamental nature of the Force that are raised by Paradia that really need to be explored at some point.
And yes, and also Disney needs to be okay with recasting parts. Because I think that for some reason they think that people would be really upset by it. And I don't think I don't think people in general will. Like, if they recast Luke Skywalker, it would make me upset. If they, I would be upset if they didn't recast. They can't do AI. The dude's dead. Like, it would be really terrible if they did AI. Like, they need to recast him. And it's like one of those things I learned from House of the Dragon, where if you've seen it, like, you go a couple of episodes and then they recast the whole cast for the next couple of episodes, and they do it fucking again. And it's like, this can be done. Like, this can be done well. And like, as long as you get a person that channels the character and not the actor, like, it's all right. Like, it's perfectly okay.
I would argue there's a difference because House of the Dragon, because of the time scale involved, always planned on doing those recastings.
I know that this is like, they weren't expecting, obviously, to have. Okay, so I'm gonna skip around just in case we run out of time here.
Shin Hati, what's going on with her? And like, she's stuck on that planet with Ahsoka and Sabine.
Right, this is my thing here. So another question: are we doing season 2 or are we doing a film? And these are my early thoughts on this. If they could do either, it would be fine. I think they're probably gonna do Dave Filoni's film. I think that was the plan the whole time. Is that they have flying threads all over from Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett. Maybe not so much Book of Boba Fett, and they tie them all up in the film, right? I think that's kind of what the plan is. Because, like, one of the plot threads will be the shit still happening on Paradia. You have Shin Hati and her new, she's probably going to teach them how to do homeschooling or something.
Yeah.
Who is entirely independent from what Baylan Skull is doing. And then you have Sabine and Ahsoka,
who are not going to let Shin Hati get away with slaughtering their turtle guys.
Right. So you have that thing happening that they have to address happening on Paradia. Now they also have to, like, the other huge, probably bigger part of the story is how is this going to affect, like, the Skywalker galaxy, which is what I've been calling it because it's just, I don't know what else to call it.
So number one, you've got Thrawn uniting what's left of the Empire against the New Republic,
and doing whatever he's doing with the Great Mothers. With
that's number
bodies.
Two. That's number 2. Is what the fuck are the witches doing on Dathomir?
Yeah. This is the other thing, and this is a hill I'll die on, and it's a song I'll sing until I'm dead. The second they popped into that galaxy, Luke Skywalker knows they're there. Like, I could buy him not realizing what's happening on Paradia because it's so far away. Maybe. There's no way the second they didn't get there with 3 fucking Night Sisters and Thrawn and shit, where Luke's somewhere in a hut somewhere is like, oh, what the fuck was that?
Like, I like see him meditating in that hut that he was showing Grogu the lightsaber and the chainmail. Is also like, what?
Yeah.
You brought what to my galaxy?
So Hera's first call. So Ezra's going to tell him what happened. Hera's first call is going to be to Leia because she's like the defense minister. Or
Leia, number 1, you need to call your brother. Number 2, you need to get every fucking starship we got.
Yeah. So I think at some point I have a feeling that the Ezra Jason Syndulla thing is going to happen, where Ezra probably trains him to be a Force user or Jedi or whatever. I think that the Dathomir, the Dathomir reference at the end, the fact that they physically go there, and the Zepho from the temple set up Cal Kestis as a possible player in the story as well, because as we know from the end of Jedi Survivor, he and Marin, who is a Night Sister, are together now on a planet that no one knows about, that's hidden away from everyone. I don't see a way where Cal Kestis doesn't get involved too. And I know Cameron Monaghan's like ready to go into live action, so like he's like ready for it.
Imagine he was like watching this season finale was popcorn, and then as soon as like he saw Dathomir, like,
oh, I'm ready. Oh, we got this, man.
Like he just fucking jizzed his pants and called his agents. Get fucking Disney on the phone. Yeah. Tell him I'm in.
Yeah, he called the voice actor for Marin and was like, "Did you see it?" Like that's our thing. Here's the thing: Thrawn is an opponent the New Republic isn't prepared for.
Yeah,
and it's why I'm into him so much more as a villain than probably anyone else than Palpatine in Rise of Skywalker. He is so dangerous because they don't even want to admit he's real. Not only is he real, he's not an idiot. He's terrifyingly efficient. He's a better tactician than everyone. He's a better tactician than fucking Admiral Akbar. No, like the only thing that beat Thrawn in the expanding universe
was the whales.
Expanding universe.
Sorry, that was being betrayed by his own bodyguard.
Right, was like a betrayal from the one person he trusted is what defeated him. Not a tactical mistake he made or anything else. Like that was the thing, right?
So the good guys have very few aces in the hole. Number one is Luke Skywalker, and like
there's no way they're not bringing Luke into
this.
That's
not going to last very long, I feel like, because as soon as Thrawn has some data on Luke, he can start planning around him.
Yeah.
Number two,
he does the same thing in the expanded universe. The thing is that as like I think the reason people love Luke so much in the expanded universe was that they kind of make him to a god tier, like, you know, you can't really plan around him.
Number two is what you were pointing out when Thrawn started shooting up the temple. The Great Mothers might not be totally with Thrawn.
I'm interested in their relationship. Is one using the other, or like, is it for Thrawn? Is it just a means to an end, or is it the same way with the Great Mothers? Like the only thing they care about is getting back to Dathomir.
I think they're using each other.
I think so too, and I think that Thrawn is aware of it.
I also think they both might be planning on when to shove the other off the sled.
Yeah. And I think that Thrawn's the one that's one step ahead on it.
Probably.
He's the one that knows that they know that he knows, right? And because he seems like he's going along and being amicable to them, but you can see in the back of his head, he's like, oh, God.
At the same time, like, the Great Mothers are not idiots. Like, they know who Thrawn is, what he's capable of, at least in broad terms. Maybe not to the very specifics, but, like, they know this guy's smart, and they know
smarter than them.
that they know that they're in a mutually using relationship here.
The last thought I have on this before we're gonna switch over to Battlefront 2, where we'll continue the discussion. They have to reconcile this with the Aftermath books, because the Aftermath trilogy was written. It's canon now. It was after the Disney acquisition. It was after Force Awakens, and it was written when they did not plan to have Palpatine as the big bad in the last movie of the trilogy. And they set up some stuff that never ended up paying off because that's not where they went with it. And this story, Thrawn coming to the Skywalker galaxy, unless he gets there and just the ship blows up and no one ever hears from him again, this does not fit in with established canon, which is why they need to throw the established canon out. Because there's like we have a good idea of what happens to the Empire. They have the Battle of Jakku, and then they disappear in the unknown regions. And the next time they see them is the First Order. Nothing about Thrawn is ever mentioned because they weren't thinking about that then. Yeah. It's not a thing they had thought of yet. So like Disney needs to be like, look, these are good books. I'm sure 7 or 8 people really enjoyed them, but disregard that. We had nothing to do with Palpatine even, and like they didn't know anything about how everything was going to pan out with The Last Jedi and everything.
I don't think Disney will have an issue doing that. Like they threw out the entire old expanded universe when it wasn't convenient for them.
I think that they'll be a little a little less likely to do that with like an IP that they, or like the part of the IP that they created. But I don't think it would be hard for them at all. I think that they'll just be like, eh.
They have, well, now they have the best writers in the world on their side.
Yeah.
They didn't a couple weeks ago, but you know, the strike's over now.
Yeah.
So
because you know that like around Disney, they're like, okay, who knows about the Aftermath books? And they're like, Star Wars Explained, I think, is like the only one, and like that's pretty much it. And like the other 10 people that read them,
I'm not concerned. They'll find a way to make it work.
I guess what I'm saying is, I'm perfectly okay for them just to be like, they're cool books. I'm sure they were fun to read. Pretend they don't exist now. They're a part of the expanded universe. Before we're putting it in there. It's Legends now.
The second expanded universe.
Yeah, right. So we need
we need to play video games.
Yeah, we gotta switch over to Battlefront 2. The discussion will continue. We're gonna keep talking about this.
We're also gonna talk about Gen V at some point.
Yeah, if we get around to it. I think there's so much shit with Ahsoka that I like. They asked more questions than they answered, and like, as long as the questions they make me ask are good fucking questions, I'm completely on board for it. So join us. It'll be here in just a few minutes. So stick around. Wait for us to go live again. We'll see you then. Thank you so much for the support. We love you guys. See you in a few minutes.
Bye.